My father passed away when I was a freshman in high school. He was 35 years old. He passed away in a car wreck, and it was on the night that he wrecked. It was snowy and icy. So from then on, for some reason, I believed that that was my destiny. That was me. That's how I was going to die when I was 35, before I was 36. For whatever reason, I believed that. I don't know why. I was invited to go to church by a couple of friends, and I believe that same year they invited me to go to men's retreat in Colorado. We used to have men's retreat in Colorado, and I rode up there with some guys, and when we got up there on one of the last services, maybe the last service, they asked if there's anybody in the crowd that was not married and living with somebody, living with a woman that they weren't supposed to be living with, and we knew it was wrong. And coming from Tulia, you can't hide that. Everybody knew what I was doing, and I had felt guilt about it too, but so obviously I stood up because everybody already knew what I was doing. So I stood up, and the speaker asked everybody around you, if there's somebody standing around you, you need to get up and lay hands on them and pray for them and get them to do the right thing. So everybody laid hands on me. I confessed what I was doing. Me and Kara had been living together for a little while, and they told me either you need to get married or you need to move out. And so I agreed to it, but I had no intentions of following through with getting married or moving out. A former elder in the church asked me to ride home with him, and I agreed. And all the way back, he talked to me about getting married and asking Kara to marry me or moving out. And he asked me what I was going to do. And of course, I laughed at him and asked him, what do you mean, what am I going to do? And he says, either you're moving out or you're getting married. And so to satisfy him so he would leave me alone, I told him I was getting married. Well, he pulled out his phone and had me call Kara and tell her what I was going to do. But I didn't want to ask her over the phone. I wanted to ask her in person, So I called her and I told her, I said, we need to talk when I get home. And she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what happened. She didn't know what happened to me up there at men's retreat. All she knew is that it was something serious. So when I got home, being the romantic guy I am, I just said, hey, we need to talk. She sat down and we talked, and I asked her, what are we going to do? Either we're getting married or I'm moving out. And she said, we're getting married. So we got married because of Christ and because of men's retreat, because an elder in the church made me see the right way instead of the wrong way. And instead of rebelling and walking out, I made a commitment. And we've been married 13 years this last year. So me and Kara, we continued to go to church after we were married. I can't speak for her, but from where I was, we went on a regular basis, maybe just because that's the way I grew up. I went to church because my mom wanted me to, and I still did whatever I wanted to on every day except Sunday. So that's what I was doing. I was just doing whatever I wanted to, and I didn't want to give it all to God. I wasn't ready to give it to God. And if I did, who as friends was I going to lose, or family, or who wasn't going to invite me to their house? I wasn't going to be with the cool guys, or what I thought were cool guys. There's a lot of trust going there, between me and God. I saw my mom give it all to him, but I was scared to do that. I was really, really scared to trust him with everything I had, to trust him with my family, trust him with my marriage and my health. Within those first few years of me and Kara being married, my mom passed away. And so our faith person, our person we could go to pray for us, or to give us a verse to pray on for ourselves, was no longer in the picture. So when that happened, it was really hard. When I lost my mom, it was super hard. One morning, going to work at 3 in the morning, I was going towards Amarillo. The roads were real icy and it was snowy outside. And I had been thinking about my father dying the previous couple of weeks before, but I never said it to anybody. And so this was on my mind, and I was going to pick up my carpool, and I was doing 35 miles an hour. And I lost control and hit a bridge pillar at Buffalo Stadium Road. When I hit, I remembered everything. I remembered the airbag coming out. I remember hitting the pillar. I never blacked out. My glasses actually stayed on me. And at the time I didn't know, but the battery had got knocked out of the vehicle. So I didn't have any power. I couldn't flash anybody. I couldn't honk at anybody. I couldn't even ask for OnStar for help, because our battery was out. Like I said, at that time I didn't know. I had set my phone up on the dash, and when I hit, the phone flew up into the dash, and I didn't know where it was at. I couldn't open the door, and when I tried getting out, I knew something automatically was wrong with my leg. I didn't know what at the time. And on the end of Kara's keychain, she had a little light that was from Swisher Electric, and I stuck it out the window because the driver's side window was busted out, so I had a cool breeze coming in. So I stuck it out the window and tried to flash the next car that came by. At 3:30 in the morning on a snowy and icy morning, there's absolutely nobody coming by. I think maybe 4 or 5 cars came by total. And I'd stuck that out. No one came by. No one stopped. I didn't get any help. So the next couple cars, I took out some napkins and waved them out in the air, and I just didn't get any help. So I knew that an old carpool would be coming by, because they're the guys that are always late to work. Well, they just drove right on by me, just drove past me, and I had my napkin out, waving it, trying to get their attention. And I was thinking to myself, if these guys don't stop, nobody's going to stop. Well, in the meantime, as they drove up over the hill, a sheriff's deputy drove down on going southbound. And he pulled over and asked me, what happened. It was kind of obvious what happened. And so he called for help. The ambulance shows up. They had to get the jaws of life to get me out. And they put me in the ambulance and finally find out where we're going. So we get to the hospital. I was there. They sent me to Northwest. I'm in the ICU, or the emergency room actually. And something was wrong with my hip. I knew something was wrong. They took me an x-ray and they told me that I broke my hip, and that I would have to get that repaired. So they call a doctor in, and the doctor comes in and of course tells me he's going to have to replace my hip. And we prayed, and I told him that it wasn't going to happen, and he said, that's really good positive thinking on your part, but we're going to have to replace your hip more than likely. And I told him I wasn't believing it, and he told me he was a Christian man, and he loved the fact that I was very strong-minded, but he was a doctor, he was a professional, and he knew that it was more than likely going to have to be replaced. So Pastor Rusty and Benny Rodriguez come up there, and they come in and they want to pray for me. And I told them the same thing, that my hip wasn't going to be replaced. And I told them about the recent events of me believing that I was going to die, because my father had died. Well, I was 36, my father was 35. It was in the same month, probably within a week of him dying in a car wreck. And Pastor Rusty claps his hand, just, you passed the test. And so I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? And he says, well, you're not dead, so you passed the test. And I was like, okay, So the surgery took them a while to get me into surgery. It was probably 6 or 7 at night by the time they got me back for surgery. So when I came out of surgery, I asked Karen automatically, said, what did they do to my hip? And she said, they put it back together with some pins and some plates. And so I was really excited about that. Well, from then, this is a big change in my life right here. I didn't want to leave my kids and Kara without if something was to happen to me, and I had never thought about it, but this is a turning event in my life that I didn't want them to go on and bury me at some point and not know where I was at, or what could have been. And I didn't want to leave this world, and I still don't, not knowing where my kids are at in their walk with Christ.